When the rain is blowing in your face and the whole world is on your case, I could offer you a warm embrace to make you feel my love. When the morning shadows and the stars appear and there is no one to dry your tears, I could hold you for 1,000,000 years to make you feel my love. I know you haven't made your mind up yet, but I could never do you wrong. I've known it from the moment that we met. There's no doubt in my mind where you belong. I'd go hungry, I'd go black and blue, I'd go crawling down the avenue. No, there's nothing that I wouldn't do to make you feel my love. The storms are raging on the rolling sea and on the highway of regret. The winds of change are blowing wild and free, but you ain't seen nothing like me yet. I can make you happy, make your dreams come true. There's nothing that I wouldn't do. Go to the ends of the earth for you to make you feel my love, to make you feel my love. Thank you.
Good morning. Today's reading is from Chombomo Gyeong, Book 13, Chapter 4, Section 3. We begin. When we think about the fact that God has labored for us until today, and that He is fulfilling 95% of the mission of paving the world-level pioneer course that we need to follow, we cannot but be grateful to Him. In fact, the very essence of life of faith is to be grateful to God. When you have such a heart, it can be the basis on which you can form a relationship with God, with Him. Should we be grateful only when we find ourselves in good situations? Of course not. God has not labored for us until this day only when things were going well for him. The more difficult the situation, the harder and more resolutely he has worked. This is why, in order for us to attain God as our Father, we should be grateful to him for having worked and fought his way through on our behalf. We should not do so only when we are whereof, but all the more when we are in difficult situations. Are you?
Good morning. Okay, I'm so grateful to be here with all of you. I feel so blessed to be here today. And so from my family to yours, thank you for having us. My family couldn't be here today. Everyone is sick. But they wanted to greet you, so I put a picture up for you to all see. So happy Thanksgiving. I know it was a couple of days ago, but I want us to, remember that giving of thanks. Now, can you do me a favor and do a small exercise with me? Sorry, give me 1 second. Can you do me a favor and do an exercise with me? Yeah? Okay, so let's first start. Now let's open up our minds and open up our hearts and think about something that we are grateful for this week. Okay, everyone got it? All right, now I want you, with this open heart full of love and gratitude, now I want you to turn to the person next to you and say, I am so grateful you're here. Now that the ice is broken, you kind of got to talk in a little bit, I want you to share that little nugget in your heart that you're so grateful for and tell it to the person next to you. Let's multiply the goodness, multiply the gratitude and joy. So please share. Questions. Would you mind humoring me with a couple more questions? Okay, so the first question I have for you is, have you ever met someone who always seems to have everything together? No? No one? There's a couple in the first service. Okay, so the next question I have is, do you know someone that seems to have superhuman strength, that no matter what they seem to be going through, they always come out on top? No one? No, that's fine. What about Father and Mother Moon, our true parents? What do you think about that? So one further question I want to ask you is, have you ever wondered what it is that our true parents have, who have overcome countless hardships, imprisonment, suffering, all in the name of creating a global, peaceful world? And what successful entrepreneurs have, innovators, authors have, like Oprah Winfrey, who's a self-made multi-billionaire and philanthropist who started off in poverty, born to a single mom. Or how John Paul DeJoria, I'm sorry about the name, an American entrepreneur and self-made billionaire who lived in poverty, was homeless countless times throughout his life, who ended up co-developing and creating the Paul Mitchell hair brand, all those hair products. That's the only thing that keeps my hair from going frizzy. So I really like them. And what others of this stature have in common. Have you ever asked yourself, what makes a successful person successful? What do you think? Ask, what do you think makes a person successful? Believing in what they're doing. What else? What makes someone successful? Set of goals. What else? Never giving up. This side's a little quiet. Passion. Letting go? Letting go. What else? Anything else? Risk. Perseverance. Gratitude, thank you. All these are great things. The one I'm going to focus on today is gratitude. So I want to bring us back to our Hundoke reading today, because the answer is found in the Word, our Holy Scriptures, the Chambumokgyang, Book 13, Chapter 4. Should we be grateful only when we find ourselves in good situations? Of course not. God has not labored for us until this day, only when things were going well for him. The more difficult the situation, the harder and more resolutely he has worked. This is why, in order for us to attend God as our Father, we should be grateful to him for having worked and fought his way through on our behalf. We should not do so only when we are well off, but all the more when we are in difficult situations. This was said in 1970. Gratitude. All these people are true parents. No matter what they've been through, they have a heart of gratitude. According to Business Insiders, to achieve more, to be happy, and to make a difference, those that conscientiously and intentionally practice gratitude and have the motto, I am thankful to be thankful, those are the ones that had success. Those were the ones that rose above the challenges and were able to go to that next level. So this brings me to the title of this sermon. You might have been wondering why, what's with the, it's all about perception. It's about seeing with the perception of gratitude. 2 weeks ago, we had a sermon on I want to make God look good, stemming from the Men in Black with the sunglasses. In this case, I want to modify it a little bit and take to the glasses of seeing through the lens of gratitude. Even in the most challenging situations, no matter what life puts you through, everything has to do with our perception, how we perceive it, the gratitude in which we see it. True parents didn't have an easy life. All you need to do is just read a few pages of Peace-Loving Global Citizen. The poverty they went through, the suffering. What else did their true parents go through? What other kind of suffering? Betrayal. What else? Persecution. What else? Can you say that one more time? Rejection. What else? Misunderstanding. Heartbreak. Loss. I want to share with you one excerpt from the Peace-Loving Global Citizen. I want you to close your eyes and think about this. The situation in Hungnam was far worse. Exposure to sulfuric acid was so harmful that it would cause hair loss and sores on our skin that ooze liquid. Most people who worked in the factory would begin vomiting blood and pass away after about 6 months. We would wear rubber pieces on our fingers for protection, but the acid would quickly wear through these. The acid fumes would eat through all our clothing, making them useless, and our skin would break and bleed. And we still would have to work and continue working without 1 day's of rest. That was just one snapshot of an intense, amazing life. But through all of this, how are our true parents? They're grateful. They're grateful, and in that moment, they take it and see, what can I do to make it better? How can I use this situation to go to that next level, to become a better person for God? Then we have John Paul Jones, who lived in poverty, lived in a foster home, became a member of a gang, was homeless during multiple periods of his life, even with a small little child. He ended up living out of his car later on in life. And you know what? With just a couple $100s to his name, with his perseverance, he formed in 1980 he did the Paul Mitchell systems of the Paul Mitchell hair products, and now he's a multi-billionaire. Now, I'm not saying this to uplift the money or anything. The point is that both these individuals that I'm putting up had something. It's all about their perception. And I don't want this to be confused with perspective. Perspective is from one person's point of view. It is how they see the world, their own personal opinions. The perception is the lens through which they see the world. And this is something that true parents talk about a lot. They did not see the suffering that they went through merely as pain. They found God and gratitude in every situation. This is seen by True Mother's motto. My motto in life is, how can I live today with more gratitude than yesterday? I have tried to live a life in which I'm more grateful today than I was yesterday, and in which I'll be even more grateful tomorrow than I am today. It has been my life goal to have gratitude in my heart every day. And right before True Father left for Danbury, you know what he told her? Please never complain. You should be grateful for the position you have been placed in. For when you become completely one through your gratitude, God's miracles can take place. It's that perception. It is having that change in perception when you realize that God is with you. It's that change in perception where you can feel God in the struggle. This was said right before he went to Danbury prison. True Mother was going to be alone with all of her children. And what did Father tell her? And what did she commit to? I will be grateful. More grateful today than I was yesterday. Changing your perception is everything. Processing a life experience through this great lens of gratitude does not mean, though, denying negativity. Bad things happen. There is a lot of pain. There are some days when it's like, I can't go anymore. There's nothing left I can do, nothing left to give. This is it. This whole idea doesn't mean, seeing through the perception of gratitude does not mean say, oh, buck up, think about the good things. It doesn't mean telling people that. But what it means is saying reframing. It is saying that God has the power to transform any obstacle, any situation that you're facing right now, no matter how hard it is. That God is right there with you, and that this obstacle can become an opportunity. It is the process of consciously creating an attitude of gratitude. An attitude of where you see something and you don't see it just for what it is, but you see it for its hope and its future. There's actually a number of studies that actually share about how, God's word is important. There's also some practical studies that show that living a life of gratitude and perceiving moments from a grateful frame of mind actually do transform you as a person. There was one study by Eastern Washington University that took a group of people and divided them into 3 categories. Now, one of them would look at memories, would look at a relevant memory that had some pain in it, and looked at it and just reiterated it, wrote it down. The second wrote about the experience pertaining to their memory, just without any emotion. And the final group wrote their memory and expressed how it transformed their life, tried to put a little twist on it, and they wrote how they're better off today than they were before that. When they focus on these difficult experiences, because they put it through this reframing lens of gratitude, of what they gained from the experience, what they've learned from it, the results showed that this group of people was far less bogged down by the negative experience. They had far fewer chances of recounting these negative experiences and saying, I wish I could have. I wish I would have. How come me? Why me? Why did this happen to me? They had less iterations of that. They had more closure to the situation afterwards, and they were less disempowered by those feelings. Another study was a publication from Harvard Medical School that was entitled In Praise of Gratitude. So this looked at a study of many different studies. It was a literature review, and it noted that in positive psychology research, gratitude is strongly and consistently associated with greater happiness. Gratitude helps people feel more positive emotions, relish good experience, improve health, and in adversity, gives them coping tools. It also says that it helps them build stronger relationships. And finally, I like 3. There's a study by Emmons and McCullough, and this study was conducted also using 3 groups. But these three groups recounted their day experiences. The first group recounted their day just as it was, no point to either negative or positive. The second group noted just what was negative about their day, what problems they faced. And the third group looked at what was positive about their day. And if they only had negative experiences, framing those positive experiences. And this study found after 10 weeks that those in the gratitude group were more optimistic, felt better about their lives than those in the other two groups. And they also were more equipped for future situations that came up to handle them effectively. So these are just 3 scientific studies that they did on that, of the power of gratitude. The thing is, though, is that these aforementioned studies, through True Parents' words, gets even more meaning. It can be seen that perception of a situation is everything. Living a life of gratitude or not has a way of affecting what we do. So let's look at this quote. Can you read this with me? When we find ourselves in the most wretched of situations in the world, he cannot help but be aware of it. And we are in such a position and we are still able to deal with it and digest it with gratitude, God will count us as trustworthy. When we're able to overcome even such situations, we will receive blessings that cannot be found anywhere else. This principle is at work in the world. True parents talk about this perception, about how we view the world with gratitude. How when we're able to overcome our adversities, this is when we get to that next level. Let's take a look at this glass. Now, I want to use this glass because one of my first sermons here was about a pitcher. So can you tell me about this glass? What do you see? Clear. What else? Empty. What else? Can you say it one more again? Drinkable. What else? Transparent. What else? Okay, there's one more thing. You guys said great things. This is something that can be filled. It is an image of hope. Anything can be put in there. Anything at all. It could be the most delectable dessert or a refreshing glass of water. It's all about how you look at this. This glass can be looked in 2 different ways. Empty or for its promise. That's the way God sees us every day. That is why we have grace. Because God sees not what we're doing right now, not the trenches that we're in right now, but sees who we have promised to become. It's about having an attitude of gratitude and always finding the way to be grateful in every situation you are in, and that's the key to all these successful situations. I want you to look at one more picture. What's there? Anyone? Rice. How many? 3 grains of rice. Now, if I were to give this to you, what would you say? Thank you, but what else would you say? What would you be thinking on the inside? What's this for, right? What else? It's too little. It's not enough. Well, let me bring you to the peace-loving global citizen, and let me tell you about how a true father would perceive this. When a person is hungry, a mere grain of rice becomes very precious. Even now, it makes me tense just to think of Hungnam. It's hard to believe that a single grain of rice can give such stimulation to the body. But when you are hungry, you have such a longing for food that it makes you cry. When a person has a full stomach, the world seems big, but to a hungry person, a grain of rice is bigger than the earth. Think about that. A grain of rice takes on enormous value to someone who is hungry. Think about that. Then it goes on to share about when your father was in prison, he went on half rations of what was equivalent to 1 bowl of rice, half of that each day. And then by the end of a couple weeks, that 1 bowl of rice, when he ate all of it, it felt like he was eating for 2. It's all about perception. How we perceive the situation we're in. How are we going to frame the situation we're in right now? I can't even imagine what true parents were going through during that time, or all those other people who were in that prison. But he chose to make it positive. Let's look at this next picture. What is that? It's a bathroom, it's a toilet, it's a prison toilet. Now, this is not exactly what your father would use in Hunan prison. It was much smaller and not nearly as refined. He talked about how it would overflow, and this is what he decided to do. Because I was next to the toilet, I was often splashed. Even during the night, when everyone was asleep, sometimes someone would have abdominal pains. And when I heard people yelping in pain as they were being stepped on, I would know that someone was making his way to the toilet, and I would get up and press myself against the corner. And if I was asleep and did not hear him coming, I would suffer the consequences. In order to endure this impossible situation, I even tried to think of those sights and sounds as a form of art. Can you imagine putting yourself in that situation and seeing the beauty of the sounds, the smells as art, framing it in that way of being alive? That's the power of our Heavenly Parent and our perception. Now, one last thing for my love of the number 3. So in the Peace, Loving, Global Citizen, True Father cites a poem. That's an old folk poem. And one of them goes like this. And the question is asked, would you prefer a crown with platinum and jewels or a sweaty, dirty shirt? Which one would you choose? You may say you'll give me a crown with platinum and jewels, but a shirt smelling of dirt and dripping with sweat is worth more. A pure heart wells up within my bosom, and I can make a flute out of willow leaves. And then it goes on to say, you may say you'll give me enough gold to buy the world, but an ox that will till the soil and the barley field is worth more. Sometimes it's hard to, say, do I want the treasure or do I want the real life situation, the creation, being alive? It's all about perception of gratitude, of where you're at, being able to till the soil, being able to provide for your family. That's where the value is. It is seeing the greater value of a shirt soaked with sweat from honest labor over a crown full of jewels. It's seeing hard experiences as life lessons meant to learn from. I want to share with you a little video clip, just to kind of give another real life, more current day reminder of where we could be if we see it through the perception of gratitude.
A lot going on. Thank you, Jason. Well, many show their gratitude on Thanksgiving by giving to those in need. In Winchester today, dozens of families gathered to deliver about 1,300 turkey meals to their neighbors. ABC 36's Veronica Jean Seltzer introduces us to one of those families, a family that had every excuse not to help others this holiday.
For almost 50 years,
Does it look like there's more people this year?
people from Winchester and beyond have gathered at First United Methodist on Thanksgiving.
Thank you, sir.
It might look like they're preparing meals for themselves.
Thank you, ma'am.
They're not.
We deliver meals to all around the county.
More than 1,300 meals.
145. What were you last time? Do you remember?
58.
Man, almost 100 in between you.
In just an hour and a half,
Thank you. Appreciate the help.
these volunteers make their way through the food line as fast as they can, preparing meals for delivery.
Come here, get on TV right here. Smile, can you smile?
There are a lot of smiles, even when they're not forced for my camera. But upstairs,
It just makes me feel like I'm making a difference.
it's quieter.
It just makes my heart warm to see.
Hunter Cooper and his family are volunteering too, for the 4th year. But this year, they can't be downstairs with everyone else.
I just recently turned 13, and before I got leukemia, I was a soccer player.
Cancer. Hunter was diagnosed with an aggressive form of leukemia this summer. It's compromised his immune system, so he can't be in big crowds like the one downstairs.
It's different.
His family's whole life is different, and will be for the next 3.5 years at least.
Shocking, at first. It was just really shocking. You never think that that's going to be part of your story. You never think that your healthy child is going to have to go through something like that.
Hunter's mom says 40 years ago, a kid with her son's cancer was given 3 months to live. Now, there's a 90% cure rate. Even in the face of adversity, this family is grateful. And when many others probably would have just stayed home, they're out giving back.
We knew we wanted to participate in some way, even if we couldn't do all of the things that we normally do.
Back in the church kitchen, a close family friend is blown away.
I don't know what I would do, you know. I would only hope that I could be as strong as they've been, and I don't know that I could.
But the Coopers don't talk much about strength. Instead, they focus on the gratitude, motivating them to give, even through unimaginable pain.
God's blessed us just so much, and I just want to try to bless others. Thank you.
In Winchester,
Happy Thanksgiving.
Veronica Jean-Seltzer, ABC 36 News.
What an amazing big heart Hunter and his family.
Isn't that beautiful? Sad, but beautiful. The gratitude in that young family's heart. I don't know if I could do that in the face of that. We are so blessed. No matter what we're going through, we have to remember how blessed we are. So I want to ask all of you to please humor me. Let's multiply some of this goodness and this positivity. What do we have to be grateful for? Blessing. What else? Life. What else? Family. Can you say it one more time? The good readings. Okay, what else? True parents. Health? Problems, yes, thank you. I like where you're going. What else do we have to be grateful for? Friends. Opportunities. Food. Did you say video? Failure, yes, failure. The air we breathe. Isn't that so precious? What else? God's love. Great. It's Claire in the back left corner. What are you grateful for? Being healthy. Okay. What else do we have to be grateful for? Can be small. What? True parents. Absolutely. I'm grateful for the little love note my husband put in my sermon today, saying, "You can do this, I love you." I'm like, okay, I can do this. All right, so let's hold on to that gratitude. And let's go back into the Word, because you know what? The Word is good, and this is part of being grateful. So in the same section, but part 5, read this with me. We should always be grateful. First, we should be grateful to God, then to our husband or wife, then to our neighbors. The more gratitude you have, the deeper the love that flows into you. The more you share it, the more of God's love you will receive. You receive it in proportion to the gratitude you share. This is why when the time comes for me to pass on, I will leave behind words of gratitude to this world and return to the Father with only love. And when I return to Him, He and I will live forevermore in love. When that time comes, the only thing that will matter to me is how much I can revere God and live in gratitude. This is my dream. In order to receive love and blessing, we need to live a life of gratitude. Now with that, we receive and we inherit God, we feel God's love in the amount of gratitude we receive and give. One more time, what are you grateful for? Family. Love, hold it into your hearts. Remember that. Okay, next. But I also want to keep us bringing us back to the most important gratitude, and that is to our Heavenly Parent, to God. Because you know what? God is with us in the darkest, bleakest times. Even if we don't see him, even when we're angry at him, God is right there, helping us, working with us, guiding our path. When we think about the fact that God has labored for us until this day, and that he is fulfilling 95% of the mission of paving the world-level pioneer course that we need to follow, we cannot but be grateful to him. In fact, in the very essence of life of faith is be grateful to God. That is faith, gratitude to God. That gratitude, that perception of looking at this world through gratitude and looking through our situation through gratitude, that's the difference, that's the key. But you know what? Sometimes gratitude is challenging. I'm not naive enough to think that everything's all smooth and rainbows and butterflies. There's a lot of pain and a lot of suffering in this world. And statistically speaking, there's going to be many in this room who are feeling deep, deep pain and wounds. God recognizes that. In the reading today, it states, when we encounter misfortune, God knows about it. When we find ourselves in the most wretched of situations in the world, he cannot help but be aware of it. And when we are in such a position and we are still able to deal with it and digest it with gratitude, God will count us as trustworthy. God is right there, that magic ingredient. That thing that we need is that perception shift, that perception shift of where we look through the lens of gratitude. It's about rising above and overcoming the situation. And Dr. Robert Emmons, who did one of the earlier studies, he was saying that it is important, though, that we do make this distinction, right? Our feelings are real and valid. We do feel pain and hurt, and we can't ignore those. And we can't just switch, okay, I'm going to feel grateful. It doesn't work that way, does it? But what he does say is that we have to look beyond the feelings and be grateful, not the feeling grateful, but make the choice of having a grateful action, a grateful perception. This is having the choice of gratitude as your perception. This attitude endures and is immune to most situational things. And as you go through losses and gains, having the perception of gratitude can remain constant. And the thing is, when you have this perception, when it's an action of gratitude and not a feeling of gratitude, when disaster strikes, you have the perspective from which you can view life in an entirely new way. The crisis is no longer as hard as it could be because you're seeing it through the perspective of gratitude. It's easy to get overwhelmed with the feeling of the pain and suffering, that we are overwhelmed and almost held captive by the feeling of pain and suffering. But what your parents ask, what these studies are indicating is that changing our perspective to gratitude, seeing it from a whole new different way, is a way of getting beyond it and above it. So you might be saying, oh, this is all well and good, right? You can talk about gratitude, that's easy. You can talk about feeling suffering and changing your perspective, that's easy. But how do you do that? How do you change that? And I just want to share you 6 tips that I've gleaned over the years, not just from the Word, but also from different research that has been done. Actually, the author of one of the studies wrote a book based on this study about ways to build gratitude in your life. So the first step is the Word and building a relationship with God. Read the Word and deepen your relationship. Pray, connect, because you know what? That person, that entity, God, will always be there. Even when you're angry, he'll still say, okay, I'm here. I'll listen. I can't tell you how many yelling matches I've had with God saying life wasn't fair. And the feeling of peace overwhelmed me and gratitude. There's an entire book in our Holy Scriptures about gratitude. Think about that, an entire section. Another thing I want to offer is to keep a gratitude journal. You can either do a daily gratitude or just every week do 3 things that you're grateful for. And it's important to write them down because it's through writing them down you can transform the situation. You can look at it, you can be reminded of it. You should describe it in detail, why you're grateful, what happened. Or if it's a negative situation, how can you perceive it in something better? And believe it or not, another important thing is to remember those that have helped you in the past. Who are you grateful for? Remember that. Now, True Father, he has a very nice quote, also in the Peace-Loving Global Citizen. And this is what he said. One day we held a service on a sandy stretch by the Han River. When it came time for lunch, everyone found a place to sit down and eat. I was in the habit of not eating lunch and didn't feel comfortable sitting there doing nothing while others ate. So I quietly walked away from the group. And I found a place to sit on a pile of rocks. Mrs. Song saw me there and brought me 2 pieces of bread and some flavored ice. How grateful I felt. Even though these were just 1 jun apiece, a total of 4 jun. But I've never been able to forget the gratitude I felt that moment. I always remember when someone helps me, no matter how small it may be. Even now that I'm 90 years old, I can recite from memory all the times that people helped me and what they did for me. I can never forget the people who did not hesitate to put themselves to great trouble on my behalf and generously give me their blessing. Think about that. Now, one way that you can remember someone that has helped you, and one way that these studies have shown to be really effective in changing your perception around, is actually writing a letter to the person who you're grateful for and describing why. And then if you wanted to get even more benefit from that letter, to go to them in person and read them the letter. Now, I want you to think about that, and I want you to help me with one more thing, because I am all about getting into action and doing. And I don't want you to leave here without reaping some of the benefits of that gratitude to God. So let's do a modification of this gratitude letter and do a gratitude text. So I don't normally say this, but everyone take out your phone and think about that person that you're grateful for and text them. It doesn't have to be something big. It could be your spouse making a meal for you in the morning. It could be the little butterfly kisses your child gave you. It could be a prayer that you knew someone was praying for you. Just take a moment and text them. Let's multiply that goodness. And I don't mind, this is the one time during church service, I don't mind dings going off. Those are good signs. I think I'm going to do it as well. I just heard a ding. Nice. Okay. So keep that in mind. I actually make a habit of trying to do that every day. That part, because a text is something that's a little bit easier, but it still keeps those good feelings flowing. Okay, number 4, structured reflection, also known as remembering the bad parts. Now, sometimes this feels a little bit of counterintuitive, like why would I remember the negative things that happened? But actually, this is really powerful if you do it in a productive, intentional way. And that is looking at the negative points you've experienced and try to see what have you learned from it. Why are you grateful? Did something happen that made you a better person because of that? My husband and I do this in a little different way. We call it the reset button. It's when I say something not nice or he says something that's hurtful, and we say, okay, let's reset. We reset it, and we play and act out the whole thing all over again, but with the more positive spin. And this way, the memories that we're creating are positive ones. So in a similar way, when you do a structured reflection, you can see it, instead of just the emotions, you can see it in an objective point of view. So yeah, that was hard. It was miserable, but I'm stronger. I would give one example. One hard thing for me to do is speaking in public, really hard. And as a pastor, when I was a pastor in Florida, I decided that I would make a survey about how did I do in terms of my sermons and leading the church and the environment that was created. And I did it anonymously so people could feel comfortable giving me feedback. And they were honest, really honest. So honest, I would read it and I'd burst into tears because it was just really, really intense. Now, I could have taken that and seen it as painful, like they didn't value my commitment, they didn't value my investment in the sacrifice. Or I could take it as a beautiful, precious gift. A gift to make me a better person. A gift of their trust and their honesty. And you know what? As soon as I switched my mind to that, I felt myself transformed. Because they trusted me enough to give them their nuggets of wisdom. I felt blessed. And I felt blessed because they wanted me to be a better person. So I took what they have. And I tried to transform myself. And I still have a lot of way to go from their recommendations, but one thing's for sure is that I'm not the same person that was the pastor there 5 years ago. One thing's for sure is that when I told you my first sermon here about 2 years ago, when I said that I would cry in the middle of any public speaking and run out the door because I was that nervous, that distressed, I'm not doing that now. I'm not crying, even though I'm as nervous as heck. But it's because of their wisdom that they shared with me and me being able to receive it with gratitude. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. Every word, I still have it actually, and I treasure it, and I keep on looking at it to see how far I've come and see where I still need to go. Okay, next one, reframing. It's a similar idea, except this is dealing with stuff in the here and now. It's reframing a direct situation. So the one was about more of a past memory. This is more reframing where you're at now. And you're really looking at the questions of what lessons did the experience teach me? Can I find a way to be thankful? Can I find gratitude? How am I more of a person because of it? What negative feelings am I feeling? And is there a way to change that? And then finally, this is kind of, I know it's simple and silly, but go through the motions. Fake it till you make it. So these same studies that they did also showed that you didn't have to have the feeling of gratitude to get the benefits. Even just acting in gratitude gave you more benefits than not doing that at all. I mean, this is hard. It's hard for me because you can usually see it written all over my face. I have no poker face. But it works. Faking it, pretending, being in that space of gratitude when you don't want to be grateful, when you're like, it's too hard, it's not fair, it's not right. But being in that framework of gratitude opens up a whole new world. You know, we are what we say and what we do. And if we keep on fixating on the negative things in our life and seeing them as negative and woe is me and this is terrible, it'll keep us in that frame of mind work. But to transfer, to see it through a whole new lens, to change our perception to being one of gratitude gives us infinite possibilities. Perception is everything. Changing our perception is maintaining the lens of gratitude. And this will get us from not being where we want to be to being who we want to be. Changing our perception to one of gratitude will help bring us closer to God and help us create heaven on earth. When you have a perception of gratitude, judgments melts away. When you have a perception of gratitude, conflict melts away. When you have a perception of gratitude, forgiveness is easy. Why do you think God can keep forgiving us and giving us second, third, fourth, 100 chances? It's because God is grateful and God sees our potential. If we do that for one another, if we have this perception of gratitude everywhere we go, every interaction we have, instead we see, oh, this person hurt me, I don't want to talk to them anymore. They said this about my family, they did this to my family. But instead if you go, okay, let me see from God's perspective. okay, let me see what might they be feeling, how God might be working for them, how maybe I can grow from the situation. If we see that, if we feel that, that's what breaks down our barriers. That's what breaks down this negative cycle that we're in of constantly hurting one another, judging one another, and holding people to past mistakes. None of us are perfect. None of us are exempt from hurting someone else. So if we have this lens, this perception of gratitude, then anything is possible. So today, in conclusion of my message today, I just want to ask you, entreat you, beg you, do yourself a favor, do God a favor, and see from the perception of gratitude. Put that as your lens as you approach every problem in your life. Because that's where God makes miracles, and God wants to make miracles through you. So thank you so much, and with gratitude and love, thank you.